You'd think certainty would make people more attached. But what if I told you that some of the strongest obsessions in human history weren't created by love, success, or reward? They were created by uncertainty. The person who texts back sometimes but not always. The job opportunity that might happen. The crush who gives mixed signals. The ex who occasionally reappears. For some reason, the less certain we are, the more we think about it. And by the end of this video, you'll understand the hidden psychological mechanism that turns emotional uncertainty into obsession, and why your brain may be working against you without you even realizing it. Because the answer isn't what most people think. Why emotional uncertainty feels so powerful. Let's start with a simple question. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to forget someone who clearly rejected you? Sure, it hurts initially, but eventually, your mind accepts reality. Now compare that to someone who gives you mixed signals. One day they're interested, the next day they're distant. Suddenly, months later, you're still thinking about them. Why? Because emotional uncertainty keeps the story unfinished. The human brain hates unfinished stories. Psychologists call this the need for closure. When something remains unresolved, your brain keeps returning to it like an open browser tab running in the background. And the more emotionally important the situation feels, the harder it becomes to close that tab. The hidden psychology of obsession. The psychology of obsession isn't usually about love. It's about unanswered questions. Think about a mystery movie. If you already know the ending, your curiosity disappears. But if the answer remains hidden, your attention locks in. Human psychology works the same way. When someone is predictable, your brain has less work to do. When someone is unpredictable, your brain becomes a detective. It starts analyzing every message, every interaction, every facial expression, every tiny detail. You aren't just attached to the person anymore. You're attached to solving the puzzle. And this is where emotional uncertainty becomes dangerous. Because the search for answers can become more addictive than the answers themselves. The mixed signals trap. Now, this next part might surprise you. Many people assume obsession comes from receiving too much affection. Research suggests the opposite can often happen. Mixed signals create stronger mental fixation than consistent attention. Imagine two scenarios. Person A texts you every day. Person B texts you randomly. Sometimes they're enthusiastic. Sometimes they disappear. Which one occupies more mental space? For most people, it's person B. Not because they're better, not because they're more attractive, because uncertainty creates anticipation. Your brain begins waiting for the next emotional reward, and waiting can become incredibly addictive. The science of intermittent reinforcement. Here's where things get really interesting. One of the most powerful concepts in psychology is called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same principle behind casinos. Slot machines don't pay every time. If they did, they'd actually be less addictive. Instead, rewards appear unpredictably. Sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. And that uncertainty keeps people pulling the lever. Now apply that concept to relationships. A compliment today, silence tomorrow, affection next week, distance after that. Your brain starts chasing the next reward. The unpredictability makes every positive interaction feel more valuable. This is why emotional uncertainty and intermittent reinforcement are so closely connected. Your mind becomes trapped in the possibility of future rewards. Why we can't stop thinking about someone. Have you ever asked yourself, why can't I stop thinking about them? Most people assume it means they're deeply in love, but that's not always true. Sometimes you're not obsessed with the person. You're obsessed with the uncertainty. You want resolution. You want clarity. You want to know what could happen. Imagine reading a novel where the final chapter is missing. You'd probably spend days wondering how it ends. The same thing happens in relationships. Unanswered questions create obsessive thoughts. Your brain keeps replaying scenarios because it believes the answer is just one more thought away. But here's the problem, it never is. How uncertainty increases attraction, and this is where most people make a mistake. They interpret uncertainty as attraction. Someone becomes emotionally unavailable. Suddenly they seem more valuable, more interesting, more desirable. But what's actually happening? Scarcity. When something feels difficult to obtain, your brain often assigns it greater importance. Think about limited edition products, exclusive invitations, rare collectibles, Humans naturally value things that seem scarce. The same psychological mechanism can affect relationships. The less accessible someone appears, the more attention they receive. Not necessarily because they're the best option, but because uncertainty amplifies perceived value. The emotional addiction loop. Let's talk about emotional addiction. Not addiction in the clinical sense, but the cycle many people unknowingly experience. Step 1. Uncertainty appears. Step 2. The brain becomes curious. Step 3. A small reward arrives. A text, a compliment, a positive interaction. Step 4. Hope increases. Then uncertainty returns, and the cycle repeats. Over time, the brain learns to crave the emotional highs. You begin chasing moments of validation. The problem isn't the reward itself, it's the unpredictable pattern surrounding it. That's why emotional uncertainty can feel incredibly intense. You're not riding a steady emotional road, you're riding a roller coaster. And roller coasters are hard to forget. Why certainty often feels less exciting. Here's a truth many people don't like hearing. Healthy relationships can sometimes feel less exciting at first. Not because they're boring, because they're predictable. There's no mystery, no constant guessing, no emotional turbulence. And for people who have become accustomed to uncertainty, stability can initially feel unfamiliar, almost too quiet. But calm isn't the absence of connection, it's often the presence of security. The problem is that many people confuse emotional chaos with passion. They mistake anxiety for chemistry, they mistake uncertainty for love, and they mistake obsession for connection. Those things are not the same. Breaking free from emotional obsession. So how do you break the cycle? First, recognize what's actually happening. Awareness changes everything. Ask yourself, am I attached to the person, or am I attached to the uncertainty? Second, stop treating unanswered questions as problems that must be solved. Some questions don't have immediate answers, and constantly searching for them often creates more suffering. Third, focus on consistent behavior rather than occasional rewards. Anyone can create excitement. Consistency creates trust, and trust is what healthy emotional attachment is built on. Finally, remember this. The strongest relationships aren't usually the ones that keep you guessing. They're the ones that allow you to stop guessing altogether. Let's go back to the story we opened with. The reason that person, opportunity, or situation keeps replaying in your mind isn't necessarily because it's meant for you. It's often because your brain hates unfinished endings. Emotional uncertainty creates obsession because uncertainty keeps the story alive. But real peace begins when you stop chasing the next clue and start seeing the pattern for what it is. If this helped you understand the psychology of obsession and emotional uncertainty, you'll definitely want to watch the next video where we break down why emotionally unavailable people seem so attractive in the first place. And if you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing, because understanding how your mind works might be one of the most powerful advantages you can ever have.